2. But I think we're getting ready to go. Very, very exciting day today. Some of you probably have seen my email, so you know what's coming. I'm going to share that again so we have it on the video. And we are good to go. All right. Let's get started. Hi, and welcome to the third session of Expanding Consciousness, Reclaiming the Sacred as the Foundation of Your Life. In the first session, Kay taught you about song, about knowing yourself, about learning to know and live your truth. That's the foundation. That's, as she said, where it all begins. Learning about song is fun. It's exciting because it gives you the opportunity to experience your truth as you learn about it. In the second session, Kay taught you about where we have been, about the things that keep us from knowing our song. She taught you about what we call our masks and how we have been living from our masks for thousands of years. And she touched on what the difference is between living in our masks and living in our heart. Enlightening stuff, to be sure, although not so much fun. Most of us don't like to talk or hear about that part of ourselves. Many people on a spiritual journey either ignore those things that we call our masks, they think they don't need to deal with them, or they are convinced they have already dealt with them. The reality is that if we truly want to build a different world, it begins with learning our song. Part of that process is learning about our masks, to acknowledge them and learn to let them go. We need to deal with that. Most people today are not really dealing with them yet. And we need to get cracking on that if we truly desire to move into the future that Kay will share about with you today, as well as in session 4 and 5 coming up. In today's session, Kay will teach you about what it looks like to take control of your attention back from your masks and move into your heart. She will teach you about what the steps are to learn your song and live it. More of the fun stuff again. And in session 4 and 5, it gets even more exciting. In those sessions, Kay will teach you about what our future can look like if we commit to learning our song and letting go of our mask ways of living. She will teach you about unconditional love and our potential to not just raise our consciousness, but to expand it and become the potential that we truly are as humans. So here's Kay for the third session of Expanding Consciousness, called Using Your Attention to Move into Your Heart and the Field of Awareness. Enjoy.
Hello, everybody. Today we are, as he says, talking about attention and our ability to purposely focus our attention. And what does that all mean? What is that? We are pure attention. We are pure awareness, pure consciousness. Just feel that for a minute. Don't analyze it. Contemplate it, feel it. We are pure attention, pure awareness, pure consciousness. Oh, here comes Anna. Yeah. Okay, let's come over here. She loves the teachings and she loves altars and all the medicine things. So there she comes again. Okay, our pure attention, we're pure attention, pure awareness. And what does that feel like? In the feeling of it, does that give you a hint of what it is? Our consciousness is the ocean that everything we are and everything that we experience rises out of the ocean. The ocean that everything we are and everything we experience rises out of. So, attention, what is it? If attention is just absolutely pure, still, not engaging, not interacting, it's just totally still, then nothing is happening. Nothing's going on. There's no interaction, there's no engaging, there's stillness, nothing changing, nothing growing. Here, we're talking about the ability to purposefully focus attention. Focusing. Ability to purposefully focus your attention. Those are the big words, and that is the big concept. Because without that, without the focusing, without the intent, nothing's going to move. There'll be stillness. Nothing will change. There'll be no engagement. There'll be no interaction. There'll be no learning and no growing. So we're focusing on the ability to purposefully focus our attention. Those words, that's the big, ancient, mystical key. The big one, the heart of it all. Anna is having a heyday over here. So, our big mystical teaching. It's the bottom line of all mystical teachings, all the ancient teachings. Your attention and how to focus it. That ability to purposefully focus your attention, that defines where our consciousness is. What kind of state is that consciousness in? The focusing ability is our measuring stick. That's the instrument with which we can measure where our consciousness is at. And if we have it squelched and hidden in the bottom of the muddy old pit, along with where your consciousness is sitting with your focus and that ability to focus, there's the other factor. How often are you interrupted in your mind by your masks, by the thoughts that are being propagated out of the programming? Old stuff, old habits, old beliefs that you took on blindly. Does that happen a lot? That is also a measure of where your consciousness is at. And right now, we all need to raise our consciousness. We have to raise it back up. We diminished it as individuals, as a culture. This was the big name of the game for the last at least 5,000 years. To diminish consciousness, squelch it, squeeze it, cut off as many pieces as you can, throw them away as far as you can. So as we are examining ourselves, we're learning how to look at ourselves to see, does our mind get interrupted a lot? When we decide we want to think about something and hold our focus there, how long can we keep that focus? Our culture has taught us how to have very, very short attention spans. Very short. Sorry. Sorry about that. We have an open fireplace, and that's what heats most of the house most of the time. There's a big fire going, and it's been a very smoky fire all day. So I apologize for that. So as we are looking at ourselves and how often our thoughts and our emotions get interrupted by this old programming, the old mental emotional habits that come out of that programming, the masks. The more we have, well, that means that we have pushed our consciousness down a little deeper, a little farther, tried to squish it a little bit harder. But all these things are very reversible. They're not permanent. There's no way to really totally squelch our consciousness, our attention, because that is what we are. And our consciousness is a sacred part of ourselves. It's a very big part of it is the whole spiritual aspect of ourselves and our spiritual activities. We can't really turn it off or cut it off and throw it away. But for at least 5,000 years, we've been pretending to and doing our best to try to disassociate ourselves from that level of our being and our awareness. And now it's time to turn it around and find out what it is and reclaim it. So in Katasi, in these Peruvian teachings, it's all about no judging. No judging, no judging yourself, no judging others, no judging the culture, no judging the programming. In the Whitaker's tradition, they actually don't even have a word for judging. Contemplate that for a second. What would that mean? No word for judging, condemning, demeaning, belittling, no concept of it. How would that be to be raised with no concept at all of degrading and belittling, judging, condemning, throwing evil black darts, energy darts at things and people and ideas? What would that look like? What kind of interactions would people be having? What kind of a culture would that be? What kind of a world would that be? These people have held these teachings in secret amongst themselves and away from the rest of the world to keep them intact, to keep them for today. We're in that end of the world time, the bridge time. And this is what they spent so many centuries, millennia, preserving, passing down to their children so carefully, keeping it exactly as it was taught in the beginning, and learning how to live by these teachings, living the teachings. No judging. What does it say about a people that they have no word for judging, for condemning? They do discern. They make a big difference about that. They do discern. And they do that very carefully and often. Discerning. The Egyptians, they don't judge either. These people, they don't judge self, they don't judge other. It's all part of the ancient teachings that were spread all over the planet. They were given to all the peoples many millennia ago. And some of the people have been lucky enough to be able to preserve them and pass them on down to us. So, in the spirit of these teachings, as you are looking at yourself, looking at the way you think and feel, and what your mental habits are, your emotional habits, don't judge. As you look at where your consciousness is, how long can you focus on something before you are distracted? Before some little thought bubbles up, the mask babble bubbles up into your head and distracts you and takes your attention off into another direction. How long does it take before that happens? And none of this is your fault. There is no blame, there is no fault. It just is. It is what it is. And this is the way our culture is today. And this is the way we are today. And all of it can be changed. All of it can be unlearned. You can learn how to think and feel and live and speak differently. We're pure attention. And you've heard me say that a few times through the last couple of days, several days here. Pure attention, and that is sacred. Our attention is sacred. Our consciousness is sacred. We are a song, an entity, a being, multidimensional being. We're each a piece of creator. And creator is pure attention, pure consciousness. Our attention, our consciousness is a piece of creator's consciousness. And that is the most sacred. the most sacred. What is it that we think about in our culture as sacred? We've tried to throw away the sacred, so we don't have a whole lot of background from our culture as to what things are supposed to be sacred or should be sacred, or what sacred even means. It's been belittled and diminished so much. So what is sacred? What is it that deserves our awe and our reverence and our protection and our time? When we try to think about that, in our culture, we don't allow very much for that. We have religions. A lot of us participate in religions, but religions have also diminished what is really sacred. They've also changed that for us in our lives. The religions have become a tool of the modern culture to change our way of thinking and feeling and diminish these things that are truly, truly sacred. When we break everything down, we'll look at let's look at science. We've got matter. We can break it down to cells and atoms, subatomic particles, energy, different forms of energy. We can break down our thoughts and our emotions and what's underneath. What is behind all of that? That's consciousness. Everything is alive. Everything feels and thinks, interacts. Behind and underneath everything is consciousness. And that's what fuels everything. Everything linear, everything nonlinear. Fuels everything. Chia taught me this very interesting way of looking at this, thinking about this.
Hang on a second, Kate. For some reason you're frozen.
Oh, okay. Let me know when I'm not frozen.
You're back.
Okay, I'm back. We were talking about what fuels everything and what's behind everything, what's underneath everything. That is consciousness. Everything that's linear, material, 3D time space, everything that's nonlinear, outside of that 3D time space. It's all fueled by consciousness. And Chia, one day, we were out in the front yardish area of their little tiny place near the beach. And this is in Santa Cruz, California. And there's just sand there. So we're sitting in the sand. And she draws this big circle in the sand in front of me. And she says, "This is you. This is your song. Your song, your attention, your consciousness. This is you, your whole totality, this circle." And then she takes a line from the edge of the circle and draws out away from the circle, puts a little box at the end of the line. And she says, "This is where you're focusing your attention. This line is following your focus. It's your attention is going out here, out away on this line to this little box at the end. And inside this little box, these are some of your blind beliefs, some of your masks. And she said, this one is about your blind beliefs about being a really bad student, an incapable student, too stupid to go to college. I just entered college. And then she takes her finger and makes another line from the edge of the circle, draws it out away from the circle, another little box, and she says, this is the beliefs, the masks that say, you're not loved. Nobody understands you. Nobody cares about you. Your parents didn't know what to do with you. And they don't care. And you're abandoned. Another line, another box. This one is about the beliefs of what a bad parent you are. Another line, another box. More blind beliefs and more blind beliefs. There's another line, another box. This is how you don't know how to manage money. You don't know what to do with it. Can't even keep a bank account. Another line, another money, a box, and it just went on and on. There must have been like 100 lines and boxes with all these different things that I typically had been thinking about myself and feeling strong, intense, deep charge, emotional charge in these ideas, these beliefs. These are all masky things. This is all programming. None of it's true. None of it is really true, but boy, when you're in the middle of that, you believe it. When your mind's hooked up in the middle of that mask, that feels like real reality to you. It's real, real, real. And you really believe it, and you hang on to it, and you feel it, and you go through it. And it's all really intense. And here's this attention. Each line is your attention and your focus. And your attention is being spent. She said, you're spending your attention like a bank account. You're just throwing off, 50 here, 100 there, 20 there. You're just spending it everywhere. Everywhere but where it really needs to be spent at the moment. It's on all this lies, silly stuff, foolish stuff, destructive stuff. And she says, now you got a goal and you got something you really want to do. You got this project at school and you're into it and you really want to do it and make it and have it really be successful. And you don't have very much attention left to accomplish it. You barely have enough attention to make one more line and one more little thing out there. We scatter our attention. We all do this. It's a picture. It's a diagram of how we have learned how to think in our modern culture. And we've been in this culture, like I said, for 5,000 years at least. We've been passing this way of thinking and being down, parent to child, generation after generation. And she was so right about every single one of those boxes. I was just floored. I couldn't breathe. I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what to feel. I was just stunned. And I could see it. I could really see it. I could feel it. That I didn't have any more juju left. I didn't have anything left inside me to accomplish the things that were the most important to me, because they were constantly being interrupted by all this other stuff. I was spending all my attention on all this other meaningless, destructive stuff. And then she scooted over just a little bit. She drew another big circle. in the sand, and she said, okay, this is a picture of you, your song, your totality in its pure state. No blind beliefs, no masks, no shoulds, no programming, just all me, all my attention collected inside that circle. And with that, if I wanted to do something, make something, create something, accomplish something, I could do it. I could do anything. I had enough attention to be able to do anything. So then she drew another big fat line coming off of that for that project, that thing that I wanted so badly to be able to do and succeed at. Instead of putting a box at the end, she put a circle, big circle. That's the project, that's the goal. And all the attention from inside, as much as is needed, can go there and stay focused. The intent can be pure, not scrambled up, unadulterated, pure, clean, clear intent and focus. And staying focused. No distractions. There's nothing there to distract me. When I'm living in the first circle, all that stuff distracted me every minute. I'd be on target for something I needed to do or wanted to do. I'd be there for a couple of minutes at best, and I'd be distracted. Up would bubble from my masky brew in my subconscious, bubbling into my mind, taking over everything, taking over my driver's seat, and making me think and feel about that subject. All the thoughts, all the ideas, all the words go with that particular subject, and all the emotions, all the feelings that are trapped with it as well. They all bubble up together. They all go traveling together. And so when you're in the middle of it, it feels very real and very intense. But it's all pretend. It's all pretend. And it's lies. And that's how we learned to be, how we learned how to think and move around in our everyday life. But we can learn how to become the circle with no distractions, no masks, no blind beliefs, no other programming agendas, just our pure song, our pure focus, pure intent, and our creativity. In the first circle, creativity is broken apart into 100 or more different little pieces and scattered around. And you don't have much left to create something special and new. In the second circle, all the pure creativity that is part of our beingness, that creativity that is part of our song and our consciousness, is all there intact, ready to be utilized. Chia said, our awareness, our attention is a spiritual thing. It's a spiritual thing. Everything, anything that is spiritual is sacred because it has to do with consciousness. When our culture threw out spiritual things, spirituality, anything that had to do with the spiritual nature, spirits, psychic, the unseen, it threw out the sacred. Our culture belittled everything sacred. And that was purposeful. It became habit. We didn't know the origins after a few hundred years, but thousands of years ago, this was very purposeful. The belittling, the squelching of everything sacred. The nonlinear, the linear, those parts of our being that make up the universe, make up who and what we are. That linear is the materialism, 3D, 3D times space, physical matter, things that have to do with the rules of space and the rules of time, things that have to do with the linear mind, the way the linear mind tends to be. Very sequential. Doing things in a very special way, segregated way. But we need that part of ourselves. It's not a less than. Linear, nonlinear, one is not better than the other. They are two sides of a single coin. We need them both. They both have a lot of their purposes for their existence and that make our existence. The nonlinear, this is everything that is outside of time and space. Has nothing to do with the 3 dimensions and the rules of time space. It's everything that's out of it, outside. It's everything that has to do with the deep spiritual level of things, the energetic level of things, the consciousness, the connectedness. That's everything spiritual. Spiritual level, spiritual aspect of our being and the nature of our universe. There are parts of both linear and nonlinear that it's to make the total machine, you have to have both halves. And that makes it sacred. The ability to focus our attention. This is something that puzzles a lot of people, and there's lots and lots and lots of pondering these days and research. And there are scientists who are really big in the whole neighborhood of consciousness. And what is consciousness? What is attention? How does it work? What makes it work? Well, the ancients say the ability to focus our attention is in the linear mind. It's a linear function of the linear mind. It's the driver's seat. Remember we talked about that bus, the image of the old Volkswagen bus and nothing in the back, and we're just flopping around in the back, and the driver's seat is there, still there with the wheel, driver's wheel. And that driver's seat is where the focusing ability exists. It's in our linear mind. But with our programming, with the habit of that programming, we turn over the driver's seat to all the programming, all the masks, all the blind beliefs, and let them sit there and make all the decisions. Choose where we're going to aim our attention, what we're going to think about or feel about, and what we're going to do or not do, and how often we're going to be distracted, all that kind of stuff. So we need to get control of our own driver's seat back. The ability to focus our attention has to do with that driver's seat. Getting back into our own driver's seat, taking control of our own driver's seat, our own attention, choosing for ourselves. This choice, this is free will. This is part of who and what we are, and this is what consciousness is about. We have choice every second of the day about anything and everything. And when we give up the driver's seat, we give up our choice. So we have to take the driver's seat back and learn, kind of relearn how to make those choices again, minute to minute, for ourselves, and take our bus where we want it to go. We need to clean up the linear mind. We need to tidy it up. We need to clean up all of these mental and emotional habits that are created out of all this masky stuff. Masks are made up of those blind beliefs and all the programming. That's what the Whitaker is called, mask. There's the truth of who you are, and here's the mask. We pretend to be this programming. We learn to identify with the programming. So we peel that off. We learn to identify with what's underneath, and that's the truth of ourselves. All that masky junk is living in our subconscious, our unconscious mind. And it is running everything. For most of us, most of the time, it has control of that driver's seat. And that means it is running everything about your life. And it even runs your identity, who you think you are. That is pretty wild stuff to think about. So cleaning it up, unplugging it, getting it out of the driver's seat, getting it out of your unconscious or subconscious. And then we can start to exercise our attention. We can exercise our ability to choose. In a sense, we're retraining our mind. We're retraining our whole being that has learned to just kind of follow along whatever was in the driver's seat. The interesting thing about this driver's seat and the bus is that it describes our linear mind. It's, kind of cubical. It's a box, square, cube, rectangle. And that is very much the way the ancient Egyptians described what the linear mind was like, a small box. And the rest of what we are, which is huge and immense and essentially endless, that is the non-linear. That's everything else that we are that's not linear mind. So here's the bus, this little bitty box, sitting in the middle of this humongous entity, this humongous being, and that's you. That's you. That's your song. Vast and ancient. And when we're in that little box, we're in our driver's seat, we can see out the window. We can see all this other stuff. We can feel it and sense it. But when we get the junk out of the way, we're back in the driver's seat. Then we have the ability to be aiming our focus at anything, anywhere, anytime. And the way Chia described it, say you want to do a spiritual activity. You want to go investigate some aspect of your own spirituality and the spiritual levels, spiritual aspects of the world that you live in. Well, it's right outside the window. It's right there. The way we can find out, we can move our attention. As some people would say, journey. We can move our attention into the non-linear. We just have to roll down the window, stay in our driver's seat, lock the safety belt on so you don't slip out. And we need to decide what aspect, what piece of this non-linear of ourselves or the world do we want to learn about? What is it we want to know? What do we want to find out? Well, we have to pick. We have to pick. We have to choose. So we choose. We would like to find out, well, let's say we want to find out about where we've been in a past life. That'd be fun. That'd be exciting. Could be really interesting, helpful in our lives to understand ourselves. So, okay, we're going to find out about a past life. This is going to be our journey. This is our goal. This is our task. And that's what the linear mind does. It sets the goal. It sets the task. We're in the driver's seat. Seat belt is locked. Hands on the wheel. And we take our point of awareness out of our physical body and we go out the window to the side here. It's been rolled down, and out there, boy, that's all that non-linear existence. Everything in the universe is out there, and we are connected to it. We are very, very connected to everything in the universe that ever was, is, will be, and we can go and investigate it because of that. So, we're in the driver's seat. We have our goal. We have the task that we've picked. And we're going to do this. We're going to take our point of awareness from being in that driver's seat and move it out through the window into the non-linear. And we are seeking past lives. Well, we go right to it. That's the nature of things that are in the non-linear. They're outside of time and space. They don't obey the rules of time and space at all. So say you want to go to 3,000 years ago and see if you were in a life here on Earth 3,000 years ago. And what was that? What were you doing? Who were you? So you've clarified that in your intent, and out goes your point of awareness, goes straight to that information, straight to where that is recorded in the non-linear, in the spiritual. And the way we experience things spiritually and in the non-linear, we learn things by pure experience. 3D time space, most of our learning is very linear. And it's with a lot of words and linear thoughts and linear streams of ideas, trying to connect them one to the next. In the nonlinear, in the spiritual, everything is experience. Everything is experience. That's how we learn. So we jump right into what that past life was. Sometimes we're perceiving it like a second party looking at the scene, but feeling it, remembering it. Most of the time, we pop right back into the feeling like we are in that body at that time and being that personality, that person with those life experiences and in those moments. And we remember. The memory of it comes back. We re-experience it. And there's no doubt whatsoever that it is a memory. We experience it. And when that is complete, we bring our attention back into the rest of our self, into the physical self, into the driver's seat, and we try to take it in. This experience is, the knowledge of it, the extent of it is so huge that it's a little too big to fit into the little tiny, tiny linear box, the linear mind box. So metaphorically, it's kind of like we keep it in a big bag right outside the window. And we, just dive in, get a handful that will fit into the bus that we can deal with in a linear way. And we start doing linear things with it. We start categorizing it and storing it in linear memory and assessing it in linear ways and comparing it with other kinds of experiences that we have, other memories that we have in our library, in our mental library. And we're putting the pieces together this way and that way and trying to understand it from the linear point of view. And that can be very useful. The experiential point of view, the nonlinear, has all the information. It has everything, every little tiny aspect of every feeling, every thought, everything that was going on around you with other people. Everything is in there. So we keep going back and we bring another big handful and bring it back, and we do more linear assessing. And sometimes we retrieve things that give us some real big ahas. Information that we just really, truly did not have before at all. And then sometimes as we're putting these different pieces together, maybe from different journeys and different experiences, and some things maybe from this 3D life type experience, linear stuff, we keep putting it together and putting it together. And sometimes we come up with something absolutely brand new, something that never was before. And that is a treasure, a tool, a gift for us to use in our lifetime here now. And very possibly, if it's your choice, to give it to others, to share it with others so that they can learn and gain from it as well. That is true creativity. That's what the Egyptians called true creativity. It is utilizing the linear mind and the nonlinear mind together. As we wake up as we are reclaiming our consciousness, and we're learning to use it, and we're developing it and exercising it. This is pulling us out of that pit, out of the asleepness. This is developing our consciousness. It's raising our consciousness. We are connected. We are so connected to everything. And we can go and interact with any of it. Any piece of knowledge, any piece of history or possible future, any individual that ever lived, things that they did, they created, they were part of humanity. Things, it's a big universe. These are things just from our planet. We've got a lot of other planets out there, and solar systems and galaxies and races of beings may have been out there too. And you can follow those threads. You can follow the connectedness. You can retrieve the information, the memories. And you can retrieve the experience and information from things that you weren't part of. It's a big universe. And we're part of it. We belong. We're part of it. This is what we are. This is our song, our whole self. This is what the heart center is. Utilizing the heart center. As we do these activities, go on these journeys, these excursions, the stretching of our awareness out into the cosmos. It all has a deep quality and framework that is very heart-centered, love-centered, because that's what we are. That's what our song is. The nonlinear, our nonlinear part of our being, it also has a kind of mind, but it has nothing to do with words. It's not a mind that thinks in words. It's nonlinear at all. When we're in the nonlinear, everything is in pictures and whole concepts and whole pieces of activity. Like a whole movie, not just one little frame of the movie, a whole movie with all the sound, the colors, the smells, the senses. When we engage the nonlinear, we are engaging the senses of our spirit. And the first part of those senses, in a way, they seem like they mimic the physical senses, like touch and sight and hearing and smell and taste. We're not getting those sensations. We're not getting the experience from the physical senses, but they seem like it. But it's our spirit senses. It's the eyes inside your mind. It's the hearing that you can experience inside your mind. And there's more. There's more senses than that. There's the part of the spirit senses that allows us to have telepathy. to be able to communicate and interact with another living thing. Communicate back and forth and give and receive the energy, the love, the information, the pictures. And these things are all non-linear. The spirit senses are probably going to be engaged to some degree, and the more you do it, the more they're engaged. And the sense of telepathy, the sense of experiencing as though you're physically there. The ability for creativity. We are a piece of creator. And we have the ability to create and manifest. We've tried really hard to squelch that in these last thousands of years. But it is still there. And when we scatter our attention to the winds, we're trying to create everything that's at the end of that line, every line that goes out with the box. We're trying to create what's in that box. So we have 100 lines, 100 boxes. There's 100 things we're trying to create all at once. And no wonder not a whole lot of it gets created very well. And what we end up having in our life, in our experience, and in 3D time space is all the masky stuff. More masky stuff and masky stuff around us, masky stuff in the people around us. We're creating thought forms full of masky stuff and we're living in the middle of them. We're attracting other masky things and other masky people and other masky events. So if we have a line that's going out and it's really, really afraid of being mugged, robbed in some way, some kind of violation like that, we're literally attracting that to us. We have the creative power. Each one of these thoughts, whether it's a fear, and in the words in your head, you're screaming, I don't want this to happen. Please, God, I don't want to be mugged. Don't ever let that happen to me. But what the universe is hearing is mugging, being robbed, being attacked, being violated. The fear intensifies that, and you attract a great deal of it to you. So, statistically, you're much more likely to end up eventually being mugged, being attacked. We create it. When you get clearer and clearer of all these masks and the blind beliefs and all these lines are disappearing because there's no box at the end anymore, then you start to see things happen a little differently in your life. And a really good example might be traffic lights or finding the parking place that you want, really close to the place that you want to get to. You picture it, you feel it. There's no fear about it. There are no masky things going on about it. No angry demands of the universe that it has to give you this. You're just thinking, that space sitting in front of that store, I know it, I can picture it. That's where I want to go. I'd love to be able to park right there. And as you come around the corner, bingo, the place is yours. The parking spot is there. Or the traffic light. I'd love to be able to get through these traffic lights fast, have a lot of green so I can get to this thing on time. And as you're driving, more of the traffic lights are green. The traffic is a little lighter. You could just hit it at just sort of the right mix, the right spot. These are just little tiny things about how we end up manifesting things in our lives. And they look a lot of times like coincidences, synchronicities. But it's our creative power. We are a piece of Creator, and we have that power. And that is one of the powers of the Spirit, spiritual abilities. The more we pursue our song and pursue being able to stay in our song, stay focused in our song, we learn how to have the song and the feeling and the experience of it and our identity with it be our framework, because we feel it when we're in the ceremony of finding your song. We learn how to feel that. That is who and what we really are. That is our framework, our foundation. It's everything that we are here in this lifetime and beyond. And we really get it. We really grok it. We're right down to the deepest part of us. And the more we do that, the more we totally accept it and realize that this is the real truth. This is the real truth of things. This is the real truth of you. Who you are, what you are, why you're here, why you're in a physical life, what you want to do while you're here. It becomes very, very true, very real. It is realer than anything else that you ever experienced with your masks. With the masks, things are always unclear, and there's always an if. And there's always another mask that is saying the opposite thing. But when you experience your song, and it's concrete, it's what is really real. It's what's underneath and behind all the masky stuff and all the lies and all that way we used to live. Then that becomes your foundation. That becomes what you know as real and true about you, and is there all the time. It's who you are. It's what you are. It's there all the time. You don't have to struggle to make it be there or feel like it's there or feel like it's true. We do have to struggle with the mask. Chia used to say that we put out so much energy trying to maintain all those lines and all those boxes, and to maintain all the blind beliefs and all the masks, all that programming, trying to live up to every little bit of it. We spend and we waste so much energy at that. And it doesn't take any energy whatsoever to perceive and feel your song, and to know that that is you, to feel that that is your real true identity, and always has been for eons. Eons. The core of who you are for eons. This is our goal. This is what the teachings are all about. This is what the ancients wanted us to learn, to do, how to be. And as we are being the truth of ourselves, our song, our consciousness, our connectedness, and be really aware of that connectedness. So the connectedness is so alive. It's just so right there, so real and so alive and so delicious. And it's so sharing. Everything out there is giving to you. And you're giving to them. You're receiving what they're giving, and they're receiving what you're giving to them. And every bit of it is so much bigger than we can ever imagine when we're asleep. All this interaction with everything out there creates this field of aliveness, the field of connectedness, the field of awareness, field of intelligence. It's got a lot of names because they're all very pertinent. They're very real. And all those qualities are very, very real. When we are learning how to do these things with our consciousness and to take control of it and aim it and exercise it and drag it out of the pit, the garbage pit that it was in, that's raising our consciousness, raising it up, raising it back to where it should be, where it can be. This is honoring and nourishing our consciousness. It's promoting self-empowerment. The ancients say that self-empowerment is sacred. The sacred, sacred thing, self-empowerment is sacred. Waking up is a sacred pursuit. Waking up is sacred. This is what we are meant to be as human beings. And all these things that I've been talking about, this is what we are meant to be able to do as humans. All these different things, all this magic, the great woo-woo stuff, all the magic, telepathy, manifesting, journeying, finding knowledge that is out in the universe. Say you're a scientist and you want to know more about a particular aspect of science that you're working on, you could go out into the universe, into the nonlinear and experience it, be taught it, truly experience it down to your bones and bring it back. That is true, pure genius. That is real creativity. This is what humans are all about. This is what we're capable of. And this is what we're going to. This is the world, the new world. This is where we're headed. This is the new world that we're creating. That's what it's all about. These are the oldest teachings. This is what has been given to us thousands of years ago and carefully passed down from person to person, generation to generation, so that we can have it today, so it doesn't get lost. We could have it today. It's here today. It's coming out. All these people, these indigenous traditions, secrets popping out of ancient cultures. It's coming out for today because this is the time that they saved it for. So we can take it back. We can become who we're supposed to become. It belongs to all of humanity. It belongs to you. So that is the final note there. It belongs to all humanity, all of us, and you. Belongs to you. Thank you all.
I don't know what I just did. I can't get out of the full picture mode. I guess we work with what we have. I did unmute you, just so you know. Wow.
See a tiny picture of you.
Yeah, I do too. How amazing, Kay. I'm totally in awe still after all these years. Thank you.
It was always my honor.
You need to remember to unmute yourself and put up the microphone.
It is always my honor. It is my pleasure, a great, 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 great pleasure. And it is such an honor to be able to share this, to be able to pass it on. And hopefully, not just like the ancients who passed it on to just a couple of people in their lifetime, but to a lot of people, because it has to go back to all of humanity. It's time.
So there you have it. The heart, the magic, the gifts of a spiritual journey, of a true waking up journey, of who we really are. I can't thank you enough, Kate. That was so beautiful. All right. You all know by now that we have a class coming up. If you want to dive into this deeper and really learn a lot more and bring it into your life, stay tuned towards the end. For now, you're getting a lot of thank yous and great feedback, and thank you so much. And from everybody, Margie, Sandy, Tom, Asta, Ulrike, Jeffrey, Polly. I feel like I'm receiving permission to breathe. Yep. Simply incredible. So beautiful, inspiring, refreshing. Thank you, everybody. Questions, Q&A time. We take some time if you have questions. If you can think of questions after this incredible presentation, please put them in the chat and we take them. We talk about them. We give it a minute and wait, see what pops up. Bob, thank you. So amazing to be in the presence of your teachings. Thank you, Bob. There will not be transcripts of this so quickly, Margie, but there will be eventually. That's part of the idea for this, that we going to put the transcripts out. It was like a Blessing. Hard to think of questions. Jeffrey, thank you. Yeah. Larry wants to know if we can talk more about going to other places. Sorry, to other times and places. Got a bit distracted here. Hard to focus. I feel like I'm not quite in the deep 3D yet either.
Non-linear.
So let's look at this if you'd like, Kay.
Okay. Can you state what?
Yeah. Can you talk more about going to other times and places? That's from Larry.
We can go absolutely anywhere. We are part of Creator. We are part of the universe. We're part of all creation. We're part of history. We're part of the potential future or futures. We're part of the here and now. So we are connected to all of it, every bit. Anything you could think of, anything you could dream up. This is a big universe. And there's lots and lots and lots of whatever out there. So if your goal is to pick another time, a 3D time on Earth, a particular place, a particular culture, whether you were there or not, and take your attention there and go and experience it. See it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it. You can do that. All you have to do is make it your intent. But we got to remember, we're used to giving up that driver's seat. We're used to vacating it and letting the carte blanche of mask and blind belief and programming plop itself in the chair. And that's what's been directing our attention, whether it's 3D or out there in La La Land somewhere, or in our past, or a probable future, or fear land, or anger land, or we're used to giving up the driver's seat. So it takes some purpose and some choice and some intent and some commitment to get ourselves back in our driver's seat, scoot this junk out and scoot it out for good. Realize you got to just look at it from a new perspective. Look at what those beliefs are from a new perspective that you have now. They are just junk. There's no truth in them. They're lies. Some of them are purely ridiculous. Yet we have been taught them dogmatically, and we've been told to believe in them blindly and just, hold that truth, hold that faith. And so we did. And when we see what they really are, we see how ridiculous they really are. There's nothing true about them. And they're there to keep you out of your own driver's seat and keep you away from the cool tools and fun games and experiences out the window. So when we really get that, it's really easy to give them up. Just scoot them along. The Whitakers taught about a way to help some of this stuff scoot along, and that is to ask the Mother Earth, because she's really big and really intelligent and is in a really clear place and position in her existence, especially compared to our masky existence, which is not very clear. So she's got the goods on a lot of stuff. So we ask her, please open up a doorway to whatever world this masky junk would belong to, a world that would be heaven to this masky junk. And help me scoop this masky junk through the door and into that world. And she will. She'll open the door up and you talk to them all that masky junk, and you say, oh, look, there's heaven. Wouldn't you rather be there? I'll help you. Let's go. Yeah, let's do it. And you just, with love, you don't force it. Never force. This is not a force thing. It's not a power over thing. It's just helping it find heaven. You're helping it evolve, whatever that means. You don't know, and it doesn't matter. But you're helping it go to heaven. The Mother Earth picked the right place. So you, with lots of love energy, life energy, just give it a little of that, a little scoot with the love through the door, and the door closes right behind it. It's no longer in our world. It's no longer in you. It's in heaven. It's having a great time. We got a cleaned up space. We're doing great. We have a great time. The inside our own head, it's nice and clean and clear. So that's a win-win-win. The Egyptians talked about creating situations that were win-win-win. Whitaker's talked about win-win-win. I always want to try to at least have two wins, and often there's a third party there. So win-win-win. And that is a very good way to help clean up the thought forms and the babble and the junk, the masky stuff. Get it out of your driver's seat. Get it out of inside of you, inside of your house and your environment, your workspace. Send it to heaven, and everybody's better off. And then you got your driver's seat. Then you're the one that's in control. You're the one who can decide clearly and focus your attention on what you want and hold that intent. Hold it and hold it and hold it. Hold it clearly. No distractions. That's expanding your consciousness, raising it up out of the gutter, exercising it. And you learn how to take your attention and move it outside of your current 3D time space and move it to where you want to go. So say you wanted to go to that culture, maybe you want to go see ancient Egypt, something like that, and pick the time period. Maybe you want to see Atlantis. Go experience it. Don't expect things to come to you in sentences or lectures. When we do things in the nonlinear, in the spiritual realms, in a spiritual way, this is not linear mind stuff. It doesn't come to you like a lecture in the lecture hall. It is experiential. You go there and experience, and you learn from experience, and we learn way more when we experience something than when we try to learn about it in the linear way through a lecture or through reading the words. The 5 minutes in the nonlinear, in this kind of environment, experiencing this thing you came to learn about, it gives you so much knowledge. In that experience is so much information, so much knowledge and knowingness and understanding. It would take a whole library of books to try to describe it all. So have fun. Keep us posted.
Nice. Okay, I got a bunch of more. coming up here. From Tom. So is the dance to be in song while discerning dark negativity?
Can you say that again?
So is the dance to be in song while discerning dark negativity?
Oh, discerning.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Discerning. Okay. Sometimes, yes. Sometimes it is. The goal is to be in song all the time. And when you do that, the more you do it, the easier it gets. The easier it gets to be in song and stay in song and identify with your true song, your true identity, to be it. And you can't help but to see the true song of everything else. The other people, the trees, the land, the everything. You perceive their song, their entity, their truth. And you're interacting with it all. There's information that's passing. And if you put your attention straight at a certain thing, say you want to know what is going on with that tree right there, right now. What are they perceiving? What are they thinking? What are they knowing? What's going on with them? What's their little world like? You hone in your attention. You focus your attention right there on the tree. And so the connectedness you have with that tree becomes pronounced. And you're intimately engaged in interacting, song to song, heart to heart, song to song with the tree. And it will share anything you ask with it. It will give you all kinds of experience and knowledge and understanding. Things like the trees, they don't have any masks of their own. They don't have any of that dark stuff. But the humans, most humans do. Because, that's how we have been. That's what we were raised to be. And that's the way the culture still currently is. It's coming out of it, but there's a lot of it still there. So you need to just understand, accept that's what is. It is what it is. And negotiate, work through your daily life accordingly. And that means from your song, you are perceiving everything that's there. All their songs. Say you go to the mall and there's a lot of people, and all different kinds of people. They're all doing their different kinds of people stuff. And most of them are pretty asleep. And so they're pretty masky, and they create lots of thought forms. Every time we think and feel, we're emitting this energy with the thoughts in it and the emotions and ideas and beliefs, and that's a thought form. And it has a little bit of a life all of its own. It is alive in its own way. And so there it is. It's the little cartoons that you see with the fellow that's talking or thinking, and there's a bubble, that's hanging right above them with the thought in it. That's not terribly untrue as to kind of what it's really like as we create these thought forms. So you're going to this crowded place, and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of thought forms. Most of these people are asleep, and their masks are in their driver's seat. So most of their thought forms are going to have some sort of masky thing about them. And some of them are going to be a lot more dark, in their masky way, whatever's going on with that person at that time. And so that's in them, it's around them, it's hanging around them. It's in the thought forms they're creating that are just, floating down them all. And with these thought forms, they tend to like each other. Likes. And they'll gravitate toward each other. Anger thought form from somebody way over here, another one from somebody way over here. And they find each other, they gravitate, and they make a bigger thought form. And that's just kind of the way that works. If we don't think about them, if we don't engage them, we don't feed them. But if we think about it and we feel that anger, we think about the anger, we let it get stirred up in us, we're engaging that thought form and we're adding our own contribution to enlarge that thought form. You go to a big crowded city, there's lots and lots and lots of these very big, dense, tight thought forms. It's wall-to-wall thought forms. And we can't help to notice. The more awake you are, the more you are in your song, the more you notice these things are there. You can feel them, you sense them. These are the spirit senses that are tuning into them. You don't have to engage them, but you can realize they're there, and you can turn your focus purposefully to song things and love things and happy things and fun things, beautiful things, love. And that will create thought forms of those things. If nobody feeds the thought forms that are full of anger and hate and fear and all the other ugly stuff, they die. No food, they die. They disappear. They disintegrate. So thought forms by themselves are not a bad thing. They are the nature of things. And it's one of the ways we help communicate. The thought forms, some of them have so much juice in them, they can stay there for a really long time. They can stay in a place. And they can be part of the walls and the air and the land or the floor or wherever it is they are. They can be there for a long time. And you can detect it. You can sense it with your spirit senses. You go to a place where there's really, really strong history happened. Something super great and wonderful and powerful and beautiful, or something really dark and awful and nasty, like a war, a big battle. You can feel some of the thought forms, they're still there. When I was in Europe the first time and traveling with Helmut and his friend Ernie Rainbow, the Apache, and a group of people, and we were in a train going from Vienna north to Kiev, I believe, Germany. And we were going right through all these famous war places from World War II. And it woke me up. One of them that we drove through was like near Auschwitz or one of those kind of places. And I was asleep. It just woke me up. The thought forms were so strong still. And there are people today, of course, that feed them because they tie into it and they remember and they get horrified or they get angry, and that feeds the thought form even more. And there were a number of places like that as we traveled, all this super intense stuff happened. And that is very easy to perceive. Don't let your masks lie to you and try to get you to feel something that's fake and pretend. Because once they know all this new stuff and the new language, they try to join in and pretend to be the real thing so that they get your attention, and you let them back in the driver's seat. Don't fall for it. That's where we get back to what I was referring to about signatures before. All these things have signatures. Every thought form has a signature. Every feeling, like anger, has a signature. Fear has a signature. There's a certain feeling quality to it. Love has its own signature, has a feeling quality to it. And we feel that with our spirit senses. So we need to start just stopping all that, the babble, stopping the mask babble, get it out of the driver's seat, send it through the door, get to the quiet place, get the quiet where you can just feel what's really there. You can perceive what's really there. And I hope that answer helps.
All right. Bunch more questions. Give me just a second here. I need to check on a tech thing. I'll be right back. I'll do this in a minute, okay? All right.
Too long of a minute.
Yeah, not too long of a minute. And the city we were traveling to was Kiel in northern Germany, and not Kiev. That's in Russia. Just a note. I lost my place again. Polly, I have had moments that felt like I woke up to be awake the way you described for a few minutes or seconds at a time. It's great to hear the mechanics of how to do it again on purpose. And you want to say something to that? Or
Thank you. I'm glad that that it rings bells, and you can grab that.
all right. Asta, my son has a question. Why did the ancients pass the knowledge only to a few selected people? Good question.
That's a good question. It's a little bit of a longer story, but that's okay. They knew 10,000 years ago, they knew that, pardon me, that smoke is coming back again. They knew that the times were changing, and the world was going to change into something different, and it was going to go asleep, go dark. And there's the threat that all of their incredible knowledge that they had earned and gained and used, lived, would be lost, would die. So they made provisions for making sure that it had lots of ways of staying in existence, staying alive, being passed down, until it was time for the world to come back alive, come back awake, grow out of the darkness. So they did it in several ways. One was to take groups of people. And most of these people were fully educated in what we would call the priest temple traditions of all this sacred knowledge. And they were sent away to many different corners of the planet, most specifically in places that they felt would not have other people arriving there and interacting with them to change that knowledge. They sent people out to the Hawaiian Islands and other Polynesian islands, way up into the mountains in Tibet. They sent people off into India and Indonesia, into Africa, all corners, into the Americas. And some of them succeeded in being able to maintain a piece of their culture and keep it alive and intact, keep the knowledge alive. Some didn't. A lot didn't. There were a number of people who, as the centuries went on and dynastic Egypt came into being, they had to go much more secret and private, and the temple systems were developed where those teachings were not easily, freely, or as freely given out to the general populace as they used to be, but only to the initiates in the temples. And you had to pass requirements to be able to become one of the initiates, priest or priestess, and be part of that knowledge. As dynastic times moved on, and we got closer and closer to the darker times, because as each century moved on from 5000 BC to now, everything just got darker and darker, with eliminating more and more of what it was really spiritual and really trying to excommunicate anything spiritual, feminine, non-linear, out of the knowledge of the people and out of the culture. And we look around us today, and yeah, that's the modern culture. That's what we've acquired. So as they got past the dynastic times and Egypt was waning, the knowledge, the priests and priestesses went out into the local populace and became part of the tribes living around through Egypt and out and beyond. Some of those tribes became the Dogon people in Africa. They have the same hieroglyphics. They have a whole lot of the same words as ancient Egypt. A lot of their words that define sacred things, the spirituality, those words are the same. Same in Hawaii. A lot of those words are the same. The teachings are the same. Peru, teachings, a lot of those teachings are just, they're so alike. It's, even though they got translated into different languages, and we're hearing them now in English, it's a little spooky how sometimes word for word, they're so alike. And these people worked really, really hard to keep the teachings intact because they knew that their knowledge that they'd gained through many, many, many millennia long ago was the real truth of things, the true understanding even of physics and chemistry and energy, and how to get power and make power machines, machines running on power, or that'll deliver power and energy to run machines. They had all of that. It's all in the teachings. And different people have managed to lose little bits of it here and there through all these different centuries. But as it's coming out, everybody's sharing it now. It's coming out and coming together. You put all these pieces together and they're making a much bigger picture. The pieces of the pie are coming back together, and they're making a whole. And it's astounding what is actually being taught, being given, and what was known so long ago. And it got, for the general public, it just got totally squelched, totally demolished, eradicated from memory. People tried to keep some of the memory in things like fairy tales, nursery rhymes, the common decorations that different cultures will use to sew on clothes, paint on the wall or furniture, these designs, so-called designs. They're really this ancient knowledge that it's another attempt to try to keep it intact. So they knew that the darkness would be there forever, that it would be, the world goes in cycles and would be coming out of it again. And this is the time right now. This is the time. We are at the end of the world, the era that was in such darkness. We're coming back up into the awakeness and into the light. And we need the knowledge. It needs to be shared. Everybody needs to share it and spread it out as far as they can so that we can all learn how to get back to what humanity once was and can be. And that's raising our consciousness to where it was. There's another step coming where we're going to be expanding our consciousness even beyond where it was before. So it's very, very, very exciting. I hope that helps.
All right. From Jeffrey, can Kay speak about this being the bridge time?
Everything that I just said, what we're living in right now, this is the bridge time. It's the bridge that is bridging the old world that fell into darkness and is ending into the new world that it will be coming. We're marching into it as time is moving. And we need a bridge between the two worlds. There's a big gap in way of living, consciousness level, our lifestyles, everything that we want our new world to be. And there's a lot of prophecy out there about what the new world is going to be and what humanity is going to be like. And this is the way of the cycles. This is what's predicted. Cycles like this have been here before, and then moved into darkness and then back into lightness and growth. So we need. I'm sorry. We need things that can help us let go of the old world and undo the damage that was done by the old world. Damage within us and damage within our own world, the environment. We need to have a few ideas, a few hints, some parameters so we can develop the structure of the new world. What do we want it to look like? That's the bridge time. We are dreaming the dream of possibilities. What do we want our new world to look like? The Whitakers, the Egyptians used to say, you can't pick the pieces up of the broken world and try to shove them back together again to build a new one, because you're not really building a new world that way. You're trying to rebuild the old, dark, broken world, the ugly world. And we don't want that. So as the pieces fall apart of the world that we're in, they need to just be left there where they fell. We don't want to try to use them again. We need to think out of the box. We need to think from the structure, from the ground up, and build a whole new society. Every kind of thing that a society contains, that we want our society to contain. Educational venues, if there's political venues, economic structures and venues. What do we want our new world to look like? What we have been in the middle of and what we're used to, it's all backwards and upside down. It's broken, and it takes the power away from people. We need to figure out, how do we build a world that self-empowers all the individuals and gives that power back to the people, gives the operation of their own consciousness and their own being back to the individuals. That's what the bridge time is all about. I hope that helps.
Beautiful. Again. One thought that came up for me is that the ancients say that this time, when we move into the light, when we build that bridge to the new world, we have actually the opportunity for the first time in human history to stay there and not pendulum out again, but really stay there.
That means to stay in that golden place, the middle point between linear and non-linear, accepting both, using both, the center point. Now look, it means a culture that is centered, with people who are in their center, knowing their truth, and not being whisked off into what we're coming out of, which is an imbalance of masculine, linear energy, dominance, a nasty power over dominance of masculine, 3D time space. Materialism is the only thing. Power over greed. That's where he's mentioned pendulum. That's pendulum of swinging way, way off, farther and farther and farther. That's the world that we've been in. Now it's coming back, and it could swing way off, and people sometimes swing to the opposite of where they've been. And that would be an imbalance of the feminine and the non-linear in a whole way that throws everything out of balance and out of whack, and maintaining hierarchy and power over in a whole different way, but still maintaining those things. So we don't want that pendulum to go off there. We want it to be in the center. We want the center place. The center place between the both. We need both, linear, non-linear, masculine, feminine, We need all of the aspects of that to be utilized. For just as one little example, in that masculine imbalance, the technology that we went to is electrical. It's all about electrical, and kind of dismissing a lot of the rest of what's there with the technology, even a lot of what magnetic fields and energies are all about. There's a lot beyond that that is, in the unseen, in the non-linear, the whole free energy kind of thing. So we went off into the electrical and using it and developing it for the benefit of a few and at the expense of everyone and everything else and the whole environment. So as we come back to this center place, we need to find a way to utilize technology, if that's what we choose, that incorporates both that linear, the electrical, the magnetic, the whole unseen with free energy and all that kind of stuff, all that new physics, and have it in balance, and have it in balance in such a way that it's not at the expense of other.
Okay, we have a bunch more comments and questions, so we're just going to keep going. We understand if you have to run, but we enjoy having you with us. To the end of today's session, a question from Laureen. What is a first tool you can offer so we can begin to access the nonlinear?
The first tool, the biggest tool, the most important tool, and the tool that is taken with us and utilized all along the way, and that is to know your song. Find it, learn your song, know your song, identify with it. Get rid of all those blind beliefs and the masks. Clean up your mind, the subconscious. Clean it out. Get rid of all the baggage so that you can utilize the full capacity of your song, the full capacity of your consciousness. Raise it back up to where it's supposed to be. Song. Everything begins with song. Everything continues with song. And everything ends with song. Because that's who and what we are, is what the whole universe is. Our consciousness, our song. And Helmut posted the ceremony of finding your song.
Yeah, I can post that link again in the chat. I'll do that in a minute here. Polly, not quite being in 3D, Helmut. It looks good on you. Yeah, that's what Kay keeps telling me.
I didn't quite catch it.
Maybe try keeping your headset on and hear it through that. Never mind. It's fine.
Well, there's two voices.
Yeah.
And they're not synchronized, so then I can't understand what either one is saying.
I said earlier, I'm kind of distracted. I'm not quite here yet. And Polly said that not quite being in 3D, Helmut. It looks good on you. So I said, yeah, that's what you keep telling me. Yeah. Robert, I experienced a conversation about time that pulls me out of my song and into one of my masks. It seems that the things I feel I need to accomplish on a given day won't fit into the time available. I know mystics say that time is an illusion, but I still get stuck. Can you say something about this challenge?
From one perspective, time is an illusion, but in 3D time space, time and its constraints are very real. So sometimes there really just isn't enough 3D time space time to accomplish all the tasks that you put on your to-do list for one day. And that happens. That happens to everybody. So we need to think about why is that? What does that mean? Does it mean you actually put too many things on the list that it was not realistic? That could be a possibility. Could it be that you get distracted during the day with mask things, mask thoughts, other little tiny tasks that pop up that maybe you don't really need to do or do right away? And they get in the way, and so they spend a whole lot of your time, and then you don't get the things on your list done. The Hedekas used to talk about prioritizing your time. That is a very important thing for us to learn how to do so that we aren't pulled away by others, hoping to get our attention and our help with something. And then that keeps us from doing the things we really want to do. It helps us from putting things on the list in the first place that maybe they don't really need to be there at all. So this prioritizing is a real important concept, and we need to start thinking about that. What is it that is the most important to you? What are the things that really have to take your time? And what doesn't? We need to think about that and be realistic and honest with ourselves. I hope that helps.
Okay, a question from Ulrike about bridge time. Can you tell more about the bridge time? I think you touched on that a lot more just earlier. I don't know if you want to add something.
We don't know what the bridge time looks like. We don't know what it looks like any more than what we know the new world looks like. We have a few hints from the ancients and from spiritual leaders who have felt it, perceived certain aspects of what's coming and what we would like to actually create in our new world and the bridge that leads us there. These are things that we have to build. We're a piece of creator. We have creative ability. We can create whatever we want. So far, we have been drinking the Kool-Aid of the culture and building the culture's picture. And we don't want to do that anymore. It's a bad picture. This is not a fair picture. It's destructive and it can't sustain itself. It's a picture that will kill everything, kill what is here. If it is allowed to just keep continuing, it would just kill everything on the planet. And so we need to picture We need to dream up a new dream and picture something else. We need to picture the dream of the bridge. We need to picture the dream of the new world. And the things that we can think of in the new world that we want, how do we get there from here? That's what the bridge is. How do we get there in that really nice world from here where we are, where things are still a lot broken? There's a lot of brokenness. There's still a lot of things that need to be cleaned up on a spiritual level, psychic level, mental level, emotional level, physical level, everything. We dream that dream. We are the creators of that, what that turns out to be. So dream the dream.
Okay. There's an email from your sister. I could not find a button to thank you, Kate. That was magical. I closed my eyes and it was as if you were right there in my home again. I love you.
I love you too.
All right. Next question from Saskaya.
They didn't hear that. Bonnie didn't hear that. My mic was off. I love you too, Bonnie. I love you. Thanks for being with us here.
Okay. Next question from Saskaya. I will eventually learn to pronounce your name, Saskaya. I promise. I did the song ceremony for the first time on Friday, and I feel I found an anchor for life that will continue to grow forever. It's pure magic. Beautiful. If we grow into our song more and more, is that enough to grow out of our masks? Great question.
According to Damano and Whitaker, it can be, but it always works if you are working at both of those things at the same time, trying to let go of these masks and all the stuff that you learned, all of society's programming, all that propaganda. It's all lies. It's all a bunch of garbage, and it's easy to see that they're not true. They are lies. They're very destructive. They're not meant for your well-being. And when you see it and you really feel it, and you can really feel how detrimental they are and how much of a lie they are when you feel your song. When you feel your song and keep going back to the ceremony again, feel your song, feel it, learn what it is, let that learning grow. The more you go to the song ceremony and you experience it, the more opportunity you have to learn all these different kinds of things, experience these different kinds of things about your own song. The more you do it, the more you will experience, the more you will learn. And that shows you without any doubt whatsoever what a crock of crap all this stuff is, the baggage we've been dragging with us. All that stuff is such baggage, is such junk. And you just let the Mother Earth open up that door and just help it through. It's like, okay, here you are, you bundle of crap. Lots of love and thanks for whatever you taught me in my life. And here's heaven. You can go now. You're free. You can go now. And the door closes and now you're free. So the two things together. And it can go really fast. This really seeing and understanding how silly this masky stuff is. And it's become our habit. We are addicted to it. Unfortunately, we are addicted to it all because it's been our habit for our lifetime. But when you acknowledge that, you realize that, and you realize that, boy, this is worse than a bottle of gin. This is worse than a warehouse full of booze or drugs or opiates. You could just let it go, send it on its way, and give up the addiction to it. I hope that helps.
Jeannie, so beautifully clear. I cannot come up with words to say how moved and inspired and how grateful I am to learn and experience the teachings and the love you offer to us all. Thank you. Thank you, Jeannie. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeannie.
Saskaya, just to watch the two of you enact and be one together is already a healing experience. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you. It is true. I guess everybody could tell that we're sitting next to each other. So, you have to turn all the way up like this to see each other. Might look a little odd out there.
You have to put your microphone to your ear.
I don't know if you guys just heard me. I'm not used to this. I don't have this thingy in here. The microphone isn't close to my mouth.
I think they heard it muted through my mic, probably mostly.
Oh, that's pretty good because his mic is all the way over there.
Jeffrey, that was... Okay. All right. That was an answer to my question. Thanks. Okay. Not quite sure what you're referring to, but I'm glad your question was answered. And Polly, I love listening to your answers to other people's questions, answers I didn't know I'd love to have. Thank you all so much. Nice. And that was great. Thank you from Jeffrey. Margie, once the new world happens, will everyone be in the light?
We will be in a lot more light than we are now, but it is a gradual thing. It is a step by step. And each person has to participate because this is a collective world with our culture, humanity as a group. This is a collective project. So building the bridge, building the next world, we all work together. Everybody's going to dream their dream for themselves. That means it starts with themselves, their personal life, their family, their friends, their social groups, and the groups build together till it is the whole humanity. All of humanity works together to create what we see around us. All of humanity has been creating what is here currently. And all of humanity has to work together to create something new and different. That's why these teachings, this kind of information has to get out. The elders and all these different tribes and the people who've been holding secret this different informations, like the secret societies within the Berber people in Egypt and in Northern Africa, and the Suf tribe that lives outside of Cairo, and all these other tribes. There's these secret groups of people who have been holding the temple teachings, holding these really ancient pre-temple teachings intact. They know, they all say, it's time to get them out. It's time to tell everybody. It's time to spread it. It has to get out there. People have to start waking up to see. They have to start realizing that they've been really asleep. They've been conned. They've been lied to. They've been living a lie. They've been living in this numbness and this fog and this little box. And they have to start doing something to change that, get out of it for themselves, for their immediate family and friends, for all of humanity. It's a togetherness thing. We have a cooperative, interactive connectedness. And because of that, we have this cooperative, interactive creation. We are creating. So, has to get out. It's time.
Okay. Couple of comments. I agree with Jeannie and Saskaya. That was from Jeffrey. Yeah. And Polly, I came through. Oh, you came through your mic pretty well. All right. Annika, I'm very grateful and happy to be here with you. We're very happy you're here too. And Lorene, thank you for the teachings, Kay, Helmut, and the spirits. You're welcome. And thank you for joining. Thank you for making this possible. And that brings us to the end for today. In closing out, thank you, Kay.
Thank you, Helmut.
And
thank you, everybody.
Thank you, spirits. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for joining. I have put 2 links into the chat. You can click on those and open the pages while we're still on here. One is to the song ceremony, where you can download it straight and go through it. Go through the ceremony. The other one is to our upcoming class, The Call of Your Song. If you want to deep dive into all of this, this is where it starts. This is where we guide you much deeper into all of this. And that is it for today. Beautiful, truly amazing. Thank you again, Kay. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. And thanks for making it possible again, because that's how this works. What you bring to this is just as important, and the exchange and the connecting and the sharing. Enjoy. There will be a replay. You will get the link. And we see you on Tuesday. We start on Tuesday at 5 with the next session called Unconditional Love Tsunamis. Don't want to miss that one.
Thank you, everybody.
Love you.
It's always a pleasure, and it is an incredible honor to be able to pass these teachings on to all of you. I love you all. Thank you all.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.